there. Tonight we're setting aside the shining stories, the gallant quests, the tapestries embroidered with glory. Instead, we're slipping into the uncomfortable armour of a medieval knight and asking a simple question. Spoiler: it wasn't all banquets, damsels and noble charges. It was blistering, back-breaking and often miserable. Let your imagination stir like a fading fire. And together, let's uncover why being a medieval knight actually kind of sucked. The stories say knights were chosen heroes. The reality was far heavier. Quite literally, a full suit of armour could weigh anywhere from 45 to 60 pounds. Imagine carrying a bag of cement strapped across your entire body, while also trying to fight, run, and climb on a horse that didn't care if you lived or died. And that was just the equipment. The training began long before you could even wear it. If you were lucky enough, or unlucky enough depending on perspective, to be born into the right family, you were sent away as a child. At 7, sometimes younger, you left home. No soft goodbyes. You were dropped into another lord's household, where you were expected to scrub floors, carry trays, and learn obedience before you ever learned the sword. They don't tell you that your first lessons in chivalry were mostly about waiting on irritable nobles and getting slapped when you bowed too slowly. Armour. A prison of metal. People often imagine knights towering in their armour, invincible. Truth, armour was as much a curse as a blessing. Yes, it could deflect blows, but it also cooked you alive in the summer sun, froze you in the winter, and left you smelling like sour sweat mixed with rust. You needed at least one squire, sometimes two, to strap every buckle and fasten every plate. Going to the bathroom, that was a logistical night, and if you fell from your horse, good luck. Knights went nimble gymnasts. They were walking anvils. An unlucky tumble could leave you stranded on the ground, struggling like a beetle flipped on its back while the battle raged on around. Knights loved to boast about their horses, massive war horses bred for battle. But the truth is, those beasts were temperamental, stubborn, and ruinously expensive. Feeding one war horse could cost as much as feeding an entire peasant family for months. And despite all the cost, your horse could still throw you into the mud mid-charge if it spooked at the wrong moment. A knight without a horse was half a knight. Keeping a horse alive and trained through winters, wars, and famine was an endless drain. Behind every shining charge was a long line of stable boys shoveling manure, blacksmiths hammering shoes, and coin purses running empty. The constant bruises training to be a knight was less like a noble education and more like a lifetime of bruises. Wooden swords, blunt lances, wrestling drills, endless riding practice. You spent your youth falling off horses, getting knocked down and being told to get back up again and again. Pain wasn't something you talked about. It was expected. Bruises, sprains, broken ribs. No one wrote ballads about the knight who limped back to the barracks and spent the night coughing up blood. But it happened. The visibility inside a helmet was narrow. Your breath fogged the visor. You couldn't hear much beyond the clash of metal and the screaming. And the danger wasn't only from swords or lance. Disease and hunger killed far more knights than the enemy's blade. A minor wound, untreated, could end a life in weeks. And unlike the stories, war wasn't constant victory. Knights lost a lot. Captivity was always a risk. If you were captured, you were ransomed. The burden of chivalry. Then there's the famous Code of Chivalry. In theory, it was about honour, protecting the weak, serving your lord, and being pious. She was supposed to be fierce in battle, yet gentle to ladies. Loyal to your lord, but also merciful to enemies. Devout in faith, while also ruthless in war. And make no mistake, chivalry was mostly about keeping knights in check. Armed men with swords and tempers were dangerous. The code was a leash disguised as poetry. Being a knight wasn't cheap. The armour, the horse, the weapons, the servants, it all cost a fortune. Some knights spent their entire lives drowning in debt just to maintain appearances. Wars didn't always pay well. Sometimes you returned home. More often, you returned broke, your gear damaged, your horse dead, and your lord only half grateful for your service. Many knights turned to raiding, not exactly the shining image painted in medieval romances. Knights were bound to service. Your life wasn't really yours, it belonged to your lord. Shumi followed him into wars you didn't start, across lands you didn't know, for causes you didn't care about. You missed home, family, the comfort of familiarity, and if you died, which was always likely, your name might vanish except as a line in a ledger of casualties. Daily misery beyond the battles outside of battle, the daily grind was no better. Food wasn't feasts and banquets, and every morning you rose, sore, hungry, and expected to keep going. Even if you survived the bruises, the debts, the wounds, and the endless service, the years went kind. By your 40s, if you lived that long, your body was wrecked. Your joints ached. Old wounds stiffened. The armor that once fit snugly now weighed like a mountain. You might be granted land, or you might be quietly dismissed. Most faded into obscurity, their glory gone, their hardships unremembered. So yes, knights were symbols of the Middle Ages, wrapped in ideals of valor. They were not gods among men. They were men trapped in steel, caught between duty and survival. The next time you hear of a knight charging into glory, remember this. Under the armor was a tired human being, weighed down by pain, mud, and the crushing weight of expectation. And maybe, just maybe, that's why the myths grew so brightly. Because the truth was too heavy to bear. So, history is rarely as glorious as it pretends, but even in its harshness it has a rhythm, steady, somber, and perfect for slipping into sleep. Good night, and may your battle